Greetings, my name is Jay,
And I'm Ian.
and this is the Gamers Gaiden. How have you been this week, Ian?
Ah, not too bad. How about you, JC?
Pretty good, pretty good. A little busy, but pretty good.
Yeah, what did you get up to this week?
Well, the reason why I was busy this week was because I've been spending basically all last week catching up in my Dungeons and Dragons campaign for some prep work.
Nerd.
Yeah,
No, that's
and yeah, my players are basically caught up to where we are in the campaign. So I basically had to read the next few sections and chapters to be able to make sure that we don't get past where we are. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, I like to make my own extra content, so that's another reason why it takes me a little bit of extra work. So
Did you get a chance to play any video games?
I did. So I played Sudden Strike 4. I went back to that and I finished the American campaign.
Nice.
So that was pretty fun. The end of that last campaign, I was explaining the previous episode where I was playing this, where the last part was the people dug out in the tunnels. I figured out some tricks to try and successfully complete that mission. So I basically just protected my flamethrower troops as much as possible. And I had two of them by the end of the mission, and I just they ended up killing them, but I had enough guys by the end of
All
the
right.
campaign to dig them out. And then I started the Japanese campaign and did two of the five missions in that, so I got a pretty good start in that campaign.
Okay.
And the other game I played was Diablo 3. A little bit of an errata. I think the last time I talked about Diablo, I said we were on chapter 3, but we actually were on chapter 2 when we just beat like a sub boss or something, and I didn't realize it was till chapter 2, and I should have clued in because it has a video and a
Yeah.
chapter whatever at the beginning of every chapter. So we completed chapter 2 and we're um in chapter 3 and we're about to go fight Claudia Black, uh the Spider Queen. Lol.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
the voice
Awesome.
actress. Um so yeah, so that's where we are. I think we're just about we're like going down the tower to
Chapter 3 I found really long.
was it?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
personally found chapter 3 to be kind of the longer of the
We
all of them.
seem to
With
be
the exception of chapter 5 because that was released later
yeah,
and
okay. So we seem to be streamlining a lot more. So I'm level 57, so almost like
nice.
max level to start getting those Paragon levels. And the want and urge to like do every single space on the map is kind of dwindling a little bit because we're just like, okay, let's get through there because we're kind of at the point where I feel we have the equipment and we're getting the equipment enough. Like, as long as we get a treasure goblin, we're going to be okay. Assuming he dropped something. We did have a treasure goblin where, like, he dropped 4 items. It was kind of frustrating. But it might have been because we didn't find him soon enough and didn't hear
Maybe.
him because of all the combat sounds. I'm not really sure. But yeah, so that's where we are in Diablo 3. So still pretty interested in the game. I think I might start over solo and play it with the Necromancer just at max level, and then play it to get the full experience. But I'll make that decision whenever I beat it. So yeah. How about yourself? What have you been playing?
I've also been playing some Diablo 3.
Cool, cool.
But I've been I had mentioned in the last episode that I was playing with some friends,
Hmm.
and yeah, we got we're doing some of the like Uber bosses. I think that's what they're called, and like greater rifts.
Hmm. Cool.
So that's been really interesting. Yeah.
What level are you?
Uh,
Like Paragon 600 or something?
no, I'm only 90,
Oh, okay.
I think, and my friend that I'm playing with consistently is at 100.
Oh, okay.
So
Cool.
she's just a little bit ahead of me. But yeah, the greater rifts are good. They're a little on the they're a little intense because, you only have 15 minutes to complete it.
Right.
But the rewards are definitely worthwhile.
Hmm.
So,
Well, that's good.
yeah, I think it's the only way to get the legendary gems.
Oh, okay. You can't craft those?
I don't think they're craftable.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know the crafting system too well,
Hmm.
so that's pretty cool.
But yeah, when you finish the main game,
Yeah, I'll hop on
I'll have to bring
over.
you into some
Yeah,
rifting.
Cool.
Rifting? I don't know. And I beat Minute today.
Oh, okay.
I had mentioned it a long time ago.
Yeah, like episode 2 or
Yeah.
something.
And I went back and revisited it and finished it. I mean, it's not overly long,
Right.
but it was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Real charming. The end boss fight was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And not too many spoilers, but it does have a new game plus,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm actually kind of looking forward to.
Playing through.
Yeah.
And it's a harder mode, isn't it?
Yes.
Like you don't have as much time to basically figure out what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, it gives you, again, not too many spoilers, but it gives you 40 seconds per life instead of the 60. So it shaves off 20 seconds,
Right.
which, I mean, that 20 seconds can kind of make a difference.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
So, yeah, been doing that and tried to finish Spider-Man for the
Mhm.
PS4 because I was really far and then got sidetracked by a bunch of other games.
Like Diablo.
Like Diablo. Jump back in. I'm garbage at it. Now I don't remember any of the combos. I'm kind of like building myself back up, and yeah, I should probably finish that this week.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's about it for me gameplay wise. Looking forward to one of the things I mentioned that I was looking forward to this year
Right.
has actually come out.
Oh, okay.
So I'll be grabbing that this week. Hopefully, I'll be able to say some things about it next week.
Right. That being
Generation Zero.
okay.
Might have got that wrong, but it looks sort of Left 4 Dead ish,
Mhm.
but with machines instead of zombies.
Right.
So looks to kind of have like a uh, Red Dawn kind of vibe,
Okay.
but instead of Russians, it's machines.
Right.
So yeah, should be fun.
That's cool. Looking forward to hearing about that.
Yeah, I will let y'all know next week,
All right. Cool. Cool.
or let me know sooner if
yeah.
you've played it.
yeah. And I guess we forgot to say what we were gonna talk about this week.
Yeah,
but
we really got sidetracked. Well,
this week has been a week of sidetracks.
I know, right? We've been. It took us a whole long time to get here, but yeah. So we were talking about doing different segments,
Mhm.
and one of the ideas that kind of popped into my head is like ages ago,
Mhm.
I used to play a lot of Halo 2 multiplayer.
Yep.
With some friends. We had a team, and like we would do ranked play.
Okay. Team is 4 people.
I think it was 4.
4 or 5.
It's been a long time, but we would like really get into it and play a bunch of games. And this is like, you've been at work or whatever all day,
Yeah.
and then you come home and you're like your unwind, relax time. You play
Mhm.
Halo and you're like just like at 11 the whole time and all like stressed out with the
The deathmatch.
just yeah, everything.
Mhm.
And you're like rank and like losing rank.
Yeah.
So a lot of us found that we were just like totally pumped by the end of it, and like you turn it off and like lay in bed and you're like, fuck, I can't sleep. So a
Your
lot
mind is so worked up.
yeah, you're just all like, yeah, you're really worked up, and we got in the habit of being like, okay, it's like half an hour before I want to go to bed.
Mhm.
Let's stop,
Mhm.
and we would play like a round of Links
Right.
or maybe
Which is a
Amped.
golf game. in case
Yeah,
people
Links is a golf game for the it was for the PC, but then they brought it out on the original Xbox,
Mhm.
and you could play it online with your friends, and it was just chill. No one really cared. We just we would play around to that, and then everybody was like, we'd make some jokes and have some fun. But it was like there was no pressure, no stress, and I was like, you know what, that would be kind of a cool segment. Is like, let's talk about the things that like really like the games that stresses out super hard,
Yeah.
and then talk about the stuff that like we can just chill out to.
Mhm.
So that really brought me to make that suggestion. Not to
Yeah.
take all the credit for this one.
No, it is your idea, and it's definitely a good one. So
But yeah, we're gonna do games that stresses out.
Yep.
And I know we got a few like joint ones,
Mhm.
and then we got a couple of our own, and then we've got stuff that really chills us out,
Yep.
stuff that we kind of relax and unwind to. So let's jump into it.
Yeah. So first, what we're gonna do is we're gonna name off some like generic ones, and then we're gonna go into like an actual list of some specific games that we're or
Personally stressed about.
personally stressed about. And I guess our first one that we both almost instantaneously said, which was the Resident Evil series.
Yeah.
And some examples, those fucking dogs. I mean, come on. Like, every single game that has the dogs just. Oh, it's a jump scare, but it's just like very stressful that way because if you hear them, you don't know when they're gonna come out,
Yep.
and in the fact that like they're hard to get rid of, so you don't want to use all your ammo on them. So it's like two of the like stressful things in that game where like the scare tactic and the limited ammo tactic
Yeah,
in the
like
same monster.
even from like the very first Resident Evil,
Yeah.
um, where the dog comes in through the window.
Mm-hmm.
It comes in out of nowhere,
Yeah.
and it's just like,
No warning
oh shit.
whatsoever.
And then you have to like aim down, and like the movement mechanics and the aiming was not the greatest in
Yeah, they're
that game.
using tank controls initially in the
Yeah.
original versions of the game, and it was just like, yeah, it was just very, very stressful to fight those dogs. It
But you
was,
know what? It wasn't for me. It wasn't the dogs.
well, I have a story with the dogs before we go into the
Oh,
next one.
yeah, hit me up.
Specifically, the one probably that jump scared me the most was in Resident Evil Code Veronica. You're at these like portable buildings essentially, and there's like these grates that are off to the side, and then you can hear a rattling and you can hear growling in the background. And it's like, I know what's gonna happen here. And you keep on walking, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna kind of position myself like this so I can like turn and move forward really quickly to get this stupid thing, and all of a sudden bam. And yeah, that specifically, that memory has always been there. It's one of my
That's what brought you to dogs.
yeah, yeah, that's the one dog memory of Resident Evil that I've always remembered.
I mean, I can understand.
Yeah.
I really can.
Hmm.
But like I was saying, for me, it wasn't the dogs that brought me to this.
Yep.
It was that I've been playing, or we've both been playing,
Yep.
the Resident Evil 2 remake,
Hmm.
and Mr. X just looming around.
Yeah.
You
Uh,
hear those like
I
foot stomps.
I had totally forgotten that he was in the game. Like,
Me too. I don't
I
remember.
was like, oh yeah, this big guy.
I don't remember him being a giant issue
Yeah.
any of the times I played through it when I was younger. I, yeah,
Yeah.
no memories of Mr. X. I don't remember him being this shitty.
Yeah, and the series has always had, like, not every game has a chase creature, but there's
Kind of from 2 on, though. They
yeah,
kind of
there are
put
definitely
that in
some
there.
good examples, like 3 specifically Nemesis, and like you mentioned the Chainsaw Man
The
and
Chainsaw Man in 4.
and then one of the bosses chases you in Revelations 1 through the ship, and that's pretty stressful moment because it can come through air vents and stuff like that. And yeah, it's pretty freaking stressful, and like all of this to make it even worse, the ammo. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I think we told each other it's like I ran out of fucking ammo again. It's like, shit. Do I start over and get good?
It's like, where did I go wrong? Where did I go so wrong that I have 0 bullets now?
Yeah, yeah. That, or like in the classic or in the hardcore mode, the ink ribbons. It's just like, do I want to save it? Like,
How much
Am I-
difference have I made in my game since
Yeah.
the last time I
is this
saved?
gonna screw me over?
Have I
But,
picked up any stuff? Maybe.
yeah. But yeah, Resident Evil is definitely one of those games that are definitely very stressful
For the pair of us.
for the pair of us. And the other game, League of Legends,
Yeah.
especially ranked. And
I mean, not just ranked for me. It's
You're not-
every game I queue up stresses me out. I
Yeah.
don't know why I play it.
well, because it's fun.
I feel like every single time I play it, at some point I will say to JC, I hate this game so much.
And then click
And
Q.
then, and then
I'm
you
like,
want to
"Okay,
play another
sure."
one? Yeah, I want to play another one.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, you're playing with real people. Really, any game with like a deathmatch style or a team combat style can be very stressful whenever you're working with other people because you have a role to do, you have a job, and people are expecting you to do well, and
Yeah.
you're expecting yourself to do well. You have your own expectations to meet, and it's just that like looming sense of like it's not like an RPG that's turn based where you're just like, yeah, okay, like that can be stressful too because it's like, oh crap, am I gonna beat this boss? But there's just that added layer of like just pressure because there's real people on the other side,
Yeah.
and
And on your side,
yeah,
you don't want to let
exactly.
your friends down. I don't know how many times where we've been like laning together
Mm-hmm.
and like my timing's off, or I'm just maybe I played 3 games with one champion and they got banned, so I had to pick somebody else, and
Yeah.
my damage is a little bit different,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm just not used to her or his. Well, it's mostly her because pretty much every ADC is female, with
A lot of them,
a
yeah.
couple exceptions, but yeah, for the most part. And your damage is a little off,
Mm-hmm.
so you're missing that CS that you should be hitting. And there's times where, even though I've been going sort of even, for me, my expectation for what I should be hitting is more, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not that bad, and I'm like, yeah, it is that bad.
Yeah,
So,
but it's still okay. We'll
it's-
win next game. Yeah.
but what stresses you out specifically?
Well, the first specific game, I would say Alien Isolation. It had a very good atmospheric sense of stress where you like it had the beeper on the controller,
Yeah,
which like if the alien was closer to you, it would ping and the alien could hear it, which was really freaking annoying. And you could only see the mini map if you brought it like up to your face, and then it would like be more active and stuff like that, and there was no jumping, which kind of added an element of like difficulty almost to it.
yeah,
I found it very annoying at first that you couldn't jump actually in that game, but then once I got used to not being able to jump, I was kind of like understanding the design choice more cuz like the game was very like gritty and like kind of dark in a sense of like there's a lot of like lighting effects and stuff like that to make it like not to impede your visibility and stuff like that. And like there's just you sometimes don't even hear the aliens, and then all of a sudden they're there and you just all of a sudden hear like the breathing right behind you, and it's just like, do I like run or like hide or don't move, like what is
yeah,
it? And like there's a one scene near the end, probably the most stressful part in that game, where the ship is on stations on fire, and there's like three of them, and they each have their own like little walking pattern. Like I don't know how many times I had to redo that just because I was like trying to focus so much on like where they were moving and stuff like that. And you gotta like either ignore them and get past them or kill them and stuff. So it's just like, and the game is filled with that type of like moments basically.
yeah,
And like you go through the vents and like they just like in the movie, like they crawl through the vents too, and it's like, oh crap, go 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 go. And it's not an overly fast paced game, but it's definitely well paced, and because
yeah,
of the good pacing in the game and the atmosphere and just the like element of like the alien essentially is like a one hit kill, right?
yeah.
So
Now, what stressed you out more? Was it the aliens or the uh like robots on the station?
probably the aliens, just
Yeah,
because the like clicking sound effect noise. I
that's
have
true.
like a
Yeah. I don't know, those robot
memory.
sections just really got to me. Those
Yeah.
guys were like, they were off-putting looking.
Mm.
Like there was just
They're like an '80s future. It's
they
very
did a really good job of capturing the like Ridley Scott
yes,
like
alien.
sci-fi
Hmm.
look. Whereas I think every other Alien game has been Aliens.
Yeah, and being a Alien fan,
Same.
that
Yeah.
was the best. Well, actually, that was a selling point for me for that game. I was like, oh, it's based off of Ridley Scott's Alien. All right, I'm buying this, and it was like the second game I bought on the PS4.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was one of the first games that I picked up too.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, Alien Isolation. Definitely if you like horror and survival games and like sci-fi games, it's a very good game.
And
It's definitely
the original Alien movie.
yeah, especially since it's like thematically accurate.
Hmm.
Yeah, very thematically accurate. Everything from the tech to the ships to the aliens themselves and how they work. It's less like shoot 'em up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, cause like there's no like mechs that are fighting off queens. Yeah, but what is your first game?
Um, Cuphead.
That I can agree with because it is stressful to get good at those types of
Oh
bullet
my
hell games,
god.
or
Oh
run
my
and gun
god.
games, I should say.
It is so stressful. Even the run and gun sections
Hmm.
where you're trying to get coins so that you can buy upgrades. Um, yeah, because like each level only has a couple coins,
Yeah.
and none. It's not like they're just sitting there in a good defined like an easy spot. You
Hmm.
usually have to do something to get them.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, you got to double jump and then dash across or something like that, or you've got to go under, dash, and then jump back up or something like
or
that.
you use your like parry
Hmm.
to hit like a I don't know, like a pink opponent
Yeah.
and bounce off of them to get to it. And sometimes it's something moving through, and
You got to do it at the perfect timing.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then like the boss fights,
I love the boss fights in that game.
they're
They're
fantastic.
very hard, and it's hard in a good way
Yeah,
because it's you know why you died,
it's
which
true. You're
you
like,
like.
man, I fucked up.
You can't say that about a lot of difficult games, but that game definitely it's designed in a way that it's more fair because you know why you died and you know what you need to work on in most cases, unless you just aren't necessarily great at the genre. I could see. It's like if you haven't played as many running gun games, you just like you probably would just be frustrated at the game.
Yeah,
But yeah.
it's that when you die to a boss and it
Hmm.
shows you how far through the fight you made it, and you're like, oh shit. Like like in some cases, it's like I barely even did anything, and that took me like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Or you're like, I was like right at the end.
Hmm.
I just needed to be better.
Well, that's like cool thing about Cuphead and those style of games too, because they're like what some people call Nintendo hard, where the
Yeah.
game actually isn't that hard, but or sorry, that long, but the difficulty is getting good. And
Hmm.
you play, like Contra 1 level 1 like 30, 40 times until like you know how to beat it or
Yeah,
whatever.
like you just
Like
keep hammering away at it.
yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't have too much to say. It's just, it is stressful
Mhm.
because every time, well, you know, it's a boss fight going in. You
Yep.
don't necessarily know what its mechanics are.
Yeah, and all of them are different too, which was the
Yeah.
really great, fascinating thing about that game, was
And like drastically
the
different.
variants in all the bosses. The run and gun sections were more or less the same of like what you've
Yeah.
seen in run and gun games, but that was a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were like a nice little breather.
Mm-hmm. For
But
sure.
how about you? What was your next one?
My next one is the end game events in Stellaris.
Okay.
So Stellaris is a 4X game, and the neat thing about this game is it's not necessarily just like Civilization, where it's like, okay, you play until a certain time, and then the person who gets the most points wins, or the first person who gets it to Alpha Centauri wins, or something very easy that you can build to, or easy, I should say. The Stellaris has a couple of mid-game events that don't necessarily have to happen. One of them is the Great Khan, which is stressful in itself because, like, basically one of the marauding empires will essentially go, "I am the Great Khan," and then he'll just like gain tens of thousands of units and then just start like expanding, and you have nothing. Like, if you're beside him, it's basically like, "Yes, I am your vassal, thank you," and you destroy everybody else. I'll help you. Go us. Um, and that's hard in itself and stressful as well. Especially if you're like have a few civilizations in between you as a buffer, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna try and take out the Great Khan. That was my goal the last time, and I didn't manage to take him out, but I took him out once. You got to take him out twice.
Oh.
You kill him, he goes into hibernation for like a little while, and he comes back, and then he'll eventually die, and then the whole empire will split up into pieces. Or you can kill him again. If you kill him again, then the event immediately ends. But yeah, it'll just hammer you. But the end game events, there's a whole bunch of them depending on what DLC you have. There's like a very Mass Effect driven one. There's like
Okay.
with like basically like Reapers who come in and they destroy everything. There's like a 40K style ending where these uh, entities from outside of the solar system or a galaxy will come in and then like just basically they're called a scourge, and they'll just like expand and like evaporate everything in their area, and they're all like very difficult, especially if like you're not prepared for them. So
Yeah.
like knowing that it's going to come, because an end game event has to happen. You can't win the game. It ends on a certain date, but if there's an end game event going on, then you can't beat it until you finish the end game event.
Oh.
So it can extend the length of a game. So like the game will end on like 24 or 3400 or 3500. I think those are the dates, but you can select what the parameters are. But if the end game event's still going on, then it'll continue and be like, nope, the scourge is still there. So like you have to deal with the
Deal with
scourge
that.
before the game ends, and either it will kill you, which is highly likely unless you're prepped for it or have a lot of allies or influence, and I'm, or you can stop it. And if you know where they're coming and you're prepared for it, it can be like, oh, I wiped them out. You can wipe out the raiding party, for example, and then they won't even come because they're like, oh no, and then it won't even happen. But like
Oh.
you had to prepare for that.
Yeah.
So like if you're not prepared for that, and then they're just wiping everybody out, and like the fallen empire like rises and isn't barely doing anything. Like in one of the games I played, there was the fallen empire that came back, but they were mad at one of the alien races, so they literally did nothing against the end game event. They were just like, no, I'm going to war against these people. The whole federation should. And I'm like, no. And then everybody else is like, yes. And I'm like, well, I'm the only person fighting the scourge, so I hope you guys finish this war soon because I need help. And yeah, it just, it can be very, very stressful to like not lose everything that you've worked for in that game, or like if an elder drake attacks you, or just there's tons of neat little events in that game that just are very stressful because you've worked so hard to build up your empire, and it's just like it's as if you didn't do anything.
Yeah.
It's just like, nope, boom, get wrecked. So Stellaris, I really enjoy the element of stress and difficulty that they've added in with the end game events and mid game events and some of the monster events and stuff like that in that game. Yeah.
All right.
Your next one?
Um, it's not on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, we do have a list over here, so that if we forget, you're like, oh yeah, that's right. And I forgot to put this one down. Splinter Cell.
Splinter Cell. Okay.
It had a multiplayer mode
Oh, okay.
called Spies versus Mercenaries, and I believe they implemented it in the second one.
Okay.
I think it was Pandora Tomorrow,
Right.
or yeah, we'll say Pandora Tomorrow. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, it was super fun to play as the spies
Mm-hmm.
because you could like sneak around. It was the like third person view. You had access to all of
Pandora Tomorrow.
it was Pandora Tomorrow. All right, sweet. Doing good. And yeah, you had access to a lot of the same like abilities and tech that Sam Fisher has.
Right.
So yeah, you usually had to like sneak in. There was something you were trying to steal, and there was an equal number of mercenaries on the opposite team that were
Okay.
stopping you.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was a player.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was usually like two spies against two mercs,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't stressful to be a spy. It was a lot of fun to be a spy. It was incredibly stressful to be a mercenary
Right.
because you have these dudes in like all black dropping down from the ceiling, and the next thing you know, you're dead. And you're like, what just happened? So you're like, and they set up each level to have like tons of dark patches
Okay.
and shadowy sections so that the spies had lots of places to move through. And yeah, it was. I loved being on the spy side. I hated when it flipped you over to the mercenaries because I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna get murdered. This is not good. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the mercenaries had access to some like interesting abilities and stuff to help them. Like I feel like it probably was somewhat balanced.
Right.
Maybe. I know as the games went on, it did definitely feel like it was more balanced because you started getting slightly more even matches
Right.
where you would see mercenaries win
Mm-hmm.
and spies lose a lot more often than you would in the earlier versions.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can definitely say being a mercenary in that was just like it was like a nightmare,
Right.
at least for me.
Cool, cool.
But next up, JC.
Uh, it's not the end of Mass Effect 2, but it's like the before the end of Mass Effect 2, that mission where you're like going, I guess it is kind of like the end of it. But anyway, where you're trying to keep everybody alive at the end. It's like, oh my god, you have to do homework to keep everybody alive in that game. It's like you got to do all these different things. Did I miss anything? It's like, is anyone gonna die? It's
Well, there's
like,
a lot of like pre-work to that
yeah,
too.
that's what I'm
That's
saying.
you have to like
You
make sure
have
you
to
did
basically,
the right things leading up to that.
yeah, like complete all of the loyalty missions and do specific, like, I think some of them will die based off of things you say. I don't even remember. I just remember there was a huge like chart that was up on Reddit that explained how to get people to die and why they died, and it was like a flow chart basically. And
Did you have anyone die your first time through?
I think a couple people died. Yeah, so definitely some. Because whenever I play those types of games, I'm very not a completionist in the sense that like I got all the trophies and stuff like that, but I definitely did like all the available missions.
Okay.
So that definitely helped.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, 2 was whenever I started playing a lot more Renegade because I really didn't like Cerberus, and I was like, "Fuck you, Cerberus."
Okay.
I don't care that you resurrected me. I'm doing my own thing. But yeah, I'm pretty sure a couple people died, and I remember like wanting to know why, and then like finding that chart, and then the being like, oh, okay, that's why that person died.
The only one I lost in my playthrough was Legion.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Ah,
Legion was it, which bummed me out because I did like Legion,
right.
but yeah, I didn't do enough to keep him alive, I guess.
Mm,
But he was the only one I lost.
fair enough. Yeah, there's a lot of stressful things in Mass Effect series, but specifically that part of the game.
I can understand that.
Yeah. Ian?
Uh Not so much a specific game,
Mm-hmm.
but quick time events.
Right.
I mean, I did. What kind of got me thinking about it was like Heavy Rain, like all of Heavy Rain,
Right.
Indigo Prophecy,
Mm-hmm.
or Fahrenheit for UK fans, if
Mm-hmm.
we have any, or maybe the rest of the world. I can't. I think it was Fahrenheit. A lot of other places, but
Right.
anyways, that's not the point here. But in those, you had a lot of like. Not only were they like quick time events, but you would also have like timed events.
Right.
I remember my first time playing Indigo Prophecy, and I had to keep redoing one section over and over again because it's right at the beginning. You have like um you're eating dinner at a diner, and then you go into a bathroom and you find a body, um or maybe you kill somebody.
Okay.
I can't remember. But there's
Been
like,
a while.
yeah, it's been a long time. But there's all these different steps that you need to take. I think
Mm-hmm.
you kill him. You like
Okay.
get attacked and you kill a dude.
This is Indigo Prophecy.
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't actually played that one.
So you have to do like there's all these steps that you can do because as soon as you leave, it like takes you to the next morning,
Mm-hmm.
and you have like so long to mess around in your apartment before the police show up.
Right.
And if you take a long time answering the door, then they just like burst in and they're like, we've got all this evidence. Like my first time through, I'm like, oh my god, I just killed a dude in the bathroom, and I like bailed, and I took a cab and
Yeah.
went home, and there was like blood all over the sheets, and the cops came in, and I'm like, what's happening?
Mm-hmm.
This is so horrible. But I like restarted it, and I'm like, okay, this time I'm gonna like wash my hands, get rid of the weapon, pay my bill.
Right.
All
Yeah,
these
that's
like
it.
normal things. I'm gonna
Yeah.
take the subway so that a cab driver can't be like, oh yeah, I saw that guy, I dropped him off here.
Yeah.
And then you have a lot more time to like clean stuff up at your apartment before police come and question you.
Yeah.
Because they still come and question you for some reason. I don't know why exactly.
Because you're a shady
I mean,
character.
I guess because one person saw you,
Right.
and like the very next person into that bathroom would have been like, oh my god, it's a body.
Yeah.
Actually, I think you can move him into a stall. Anyways, yeah, that's and then like Heavy Rain, all the the quick time events.
I remember there was that one part in Heavy Rain where you have to like get to a switch or something in the electrical room, and like you can get electrocuted, and you've got to like do all the quick time events correctly and time it correctly. And I was just like, oh my god.
And like sometimes you're like holding things down, like it makes you
Yeah.
like have this like weird hand
Yeah, it's
cramp
like, oh, you thought
because you're
four
like
buttons is
holding.
enough? Use your nose. Like,
And then on top of all of that, so I was playing Spider-Man for the PS4 today,
right,
and it like randomly hits you with these like quick time events,
right.
and you're like, yeah, all right, I just pressed something to do a finisher on somebody,
Hmm.
and then it's like, okay, now you're gonna have to like move the left stick up to this corner, and like there's no prompt, like there's no warning. It's
Right.
just this like prompt comes up, and you're like watching the little timer go down. I'm like, oh shit, like all right, up
I
there,
didn't know I was
hold
playing a
these
Quantic Dream
buttons.
game.
Yeah, exactly. Or like anytime they throw something at you like out of nowhere,
Right.
it's that whole like, oh, I was playing a normal game and everything was going fine. Now I have to like, you have like 3 seconds to press X to not die, and I'm like, oh, what?
Yeah.
And then you're dead, and you're like, what just happened? Like,
Hmm.
where did the rest of this normal game go? Like, why do you keep? And that's like, it's really only been an issue in the, I guess, post PS2 era, or like PS2
Post
on.
Resident Evil 4.
Well, yeah, yeah.
Press.
And it's so frustrating because it hits you out of nowhere. You
Yeah.
have like seconds to react to it, and if you're not prepared,
Hmm.
you're just like, all right, well, I guess I'm going back to my last save.
Yeah. Damn.
But I mean, I can rant about that forever. JC.
It kind of in the same vein. The one that I'll say next is whenever a game makes you fucking choose, like, oh my god, I have no idea how long I stared at the screen at the end of Dragon Age 1. I was just like, I don't want to choose either of those people.
Dude, I can't even
No.
decide where I want to go for dinner most of the time. Like,
Yeah, like, oh man, like anything where it's like your actions have consequences, and it's just like even the Quantic Dream games where it's like, do I get Connor to do that or this? Like that kid's gonna die. Like,
do I cut my thumb off, or do I cut my finger off?
yeah.
Is it worth it? Do I need that finger?
Yeah, like do I really like this character? Like why are you making me choose like the Geth or like Talia? Like you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like why? Stop doing this. And basically if it's BioWare or Don't Nod or like Quantic Dreams or like any of those companies that make those style of like story driven games, which I play quite a bit of, it's just like not this again. I knew this was gonna happen, but not this again. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even things that aren't like that, it's anytime you have to make a solid decision in a game and like
Yeah.
commit to a path.
Mm-hmm.
Ah,
Yeah. Yeah.
like I said, I can't even make a solid commitment as to where I want to eat dinner.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to make me decide between like which person lives or dies? Can I just not shoot them both?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or not
Sometimes.
at all? Like let
Yeah.
me
Sometimes that's an option.
feel like it's someone else's problem.
Yeah, and in kind of the same vein, in any of the like strategy RPGs where like death is permanent, and
Oh
it's
my
like,
God.
oh no, I have to do this all over again, or it's like he only has 4 hit points. Can I save him? Like, is his initiative high enough? Yeah, because like I haven't played the newest XCOM games that much, but my friend has, and he talked about them a lot. And it's like
I
there's
have.
permadeath in those,
Yeah.
and it's like that was my favorite guy. Like you really don't want your characters to die, because like I think in that game especially, I don't know about some other games, but XCOM tells if you're save scumming, and it actually makes the game harder if you do it too much. So it's like, oh
Of
no,
course
you
it
really
does.
don't want that person to die or something like that. But yeah, so that's yeah, choices and people dying and stuff like that in your party has definitely always been stressful for me
Yeah.
because I've always wanted people to stay alive. Your next one, Ian?
Uh Diablo 3.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it kind of falls in both categories.
Yeah, I find Diablo more like peaceful. It's just I don't know,
Like
damage sponging.
I mean, some nights I can like just lay in bed, you know,
Hmm.
my wife can watch something on TV that I don't care about, and I can
Right.
just play like half an hour of Diablo on my Switch
Hmm.
and not like not be super involved
Yeah.
and just like you're just like, yeah, I'm just doing damage,
Hmm.
collecting loot, having enough fun.
I guess that kind of depends on your class you're playing too. Because,
Also
like,
that.
I'm playing a Necromancer. It's just like, whatever. I have 25 ads. Nobody cares.
Yeah, you're like, "Oh,
Oh, more fell?
go
More
my
rise.
minions, go."
Rise, my minions.
But doing like these all the greater rifts that we've been doing,
Right.
like you have 15 minutes.
Hmm.
And sometimes you're just like the monsters have that much health
Hmm.
and you're just like, man, this it's like it's work to get through the regular dudes. And then you get to your like your silver and gold elites
Yeah.
and you're like, shit. Like you're like pumping out as much damage as you can. You're like, using your abilities and everything and you're just like he's taken like nothing. And
Hmm.
I'm losing so much time. And the worst thing is it has your little like so you've got your tracker of how far you are and then it shows a little like timer along the bottom like how far you should be
Really?
and like when that gets ahead you're like shit like how
Oh,
do I
okay.
make up time and sometimes you just have to accept that you're fucked
Right.
and you can't and it's like doing that has been stressful because you can't like you have to get a greater rift key
Right.
to actually do it.
Okay.
You can't just like jump in.
I haven't played any of these Gritter Rifts, and now that you're explaining this to me a little bit more, I get it.
Plus, you can empower them,
Hmm.
which makes I think it makes it a little bit more difficult. But you get some better loot. Like you have
Hmm.
potential for better loot.
Okay.
But it costs like a couple million to empower them.
Holy crap! I only have like 600,000.
I mean, once you get like further along, it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
money's like not a huge deal,
Right.
but I still probably only have like 4 or 5 million on me at any time.
Right.
So like when you're like, yeah, this is gonna cost you 3.5 million, I'm like, shit, I can do this once, and if I fuck it up,
Right.
lose.
Hmm.
Yeah, like it's stressful,
Hmm.
but I think you got one more, JC.
Yeah, I have one more. So I wrote this one down because Ian hasn't.
I can't look. So I'll
Uh,
look away.
this is from Life is Strange, and it's a specific scene, and this is the scene, and yeah. So that's one of the most stressful things I've done in a video game, and let me put that upside down so you can't see it. Yeah, you haven't gotten that far, started playing it yet. That scene was very stressful, and I'll leave it at that. And I'll tell you once you're actually played it what this scene is then.
Okay. Okay. I've also been instructed that I can't watch this episode until then, so
Or at least this section.
or yeah, at least this section. And I'll be good. I won't.
Yeah.
So that brings us on to things that would relax us, kind of chill us out and unwind us after playing all that stressful BS that we were just involved in.
Yep.
What would be something that would kind of relax you down from that a little bit?
One of the games that have always been kind of very relaxing for me, is beyond some of the startup frustration of the second game I'm going to mention, is SimCity, specifically the Super Nintendo version,
Okay.
and SimCity 2000 any version. Um, Although the console controls on them aren't as good as the PC, but
fair.
I've always liked the Super Nintendo SimCity version. It's actually the first time I played SimCity, and it's just I find the game very peaceful and very easygoing. It can be very stressful in some cases, yes, where you're trying to get like that like max pop or like fix some problems and stuff like that. But for like probably 90% of the game, to me, I don't find the game stressful at all. So I've always found SimCity and SimCity 2000 like just like yep, people are living lives and building up city and getting money and building new suburbs and stuff like
And
that.
I'm sort
and,
of involved in that.
yeah, and that's my city, and I've always found that game very very chill. So
All right.
yeah.
That's an interesting pick. I think that would have I feel like that would stress me out a little bit.
Yeah, I SimCity 2000 startup for the city is kind of like that 10% that like kind of like frustrates and stresses me out because sometimes it just doesn't work and
Yeah,
it's like, oh crap, like screwed up the waterways or something like that, or the city transit and stuff like that. But once you get that initial like net positive, it's just like, okay, we're net positive, we can just ride
just
the
kind of coast.
ride the game and coast a little bit. Yeah.
Fair enough, man.
Yep. And yours?
Endless Ocean
Okay.
for the Wii.
Mm-hmm. What is this game?
It's it's like a diving. It's not a sim, but it's like a diving game.
Okay.
There's no fear of any kind of damage.
Okay. Not even sharks?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Nope. You just look at fish. You look
Cool.
at fish. You explore some like underwater caves.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it was just like it was relaxing enough that you could like just like fall asleep
Mm-hmm.
while playing it. Like I mean, it was almost boring,
Right.
but there was enough like interesting things like the, all the different fish species and like
Right.
different caves and stuff. I think you had there was either a time limit or like an oxygen limit
Okay.
that
Just to add a
you
little
only
bit of
had
realism.
so long to be down there.
Right.
So you had to kind of like pick a direction or like I'm going to go to this area
Right.
and explore this thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, like it was neat. You were always looking for that new area and that new thing. Something that kind of like captured a similar idea would have been Abzu, which was out more recent
Oh, okay.
on like next gen things. And
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it was super pretty. I mean, Abzu had that almost like Journey-esque feel to it. I know I
Yeah.
kind of threw two in here, but
That's fine.
they were both like
That's
underwater
actually on
games
my
with like there was very little fear of dying.
right.
You get to like look at these bright, vibrant, like tropical fish species,
Mm-hmm.
and like uh there was sharks, especially in Abzu. There was an amazing part in Abzu where you're like swimming with a great white, like you're
Oh, okay.
behind him, and he's like plowing through some stuff for you, and you're just like following along, and it's the shark's not a threat to you whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like it. I think it's like it gives gamers an opportunity to see something that's kind of looked at as like a big, fearsome creature,
Okay.
and sort of like show you that it's just it's a beautiful creature. Like
Yeah.
it's not
A lot of
it's
people
not
are
out there trying to
irrationally
like
scared of sharks.
yeah, like
Yeah.
they're just they're wonderful creatures. They're at the top of their food chain, but they're just
Mm-hmm.
it's just a beautiful creature.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man, like the diving games. I mean, I know that there definitely are some stressful ones,
Right.
but like Endless Ocean, which is old but worth the check out if you've got a Wii.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you could probably pick it up for $10.
Mm-hmm.
Or Abzu, which is again, I think you could probably get it for $10. It's a little bit newer. It's on everything.
Yeah, I just looked
Um,
it up. It came out in 2016.
yeah, and man, like they're very relaxing. Actually, Abzu has like a meditation section
Oh, okay.
where you can like
Okay, that's definitely a chill out
you
game.
like you park yourself on a statue and
Mm-hmm.
you can just cycle through the different fish species. It'll tell you what they are,
Okay.
and then you can just watch them do their thing,
Oh, that's kind
which
of
is
neat.
kind of weird, but
Right.
it's nice. The art style is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways, your next one.
My next one is the Harvest Moon series,
Oh,
specifically the Super Nintendo version, and surprisingly, the DS version, the non-bugged version. You can find out if you have a bugged version or non-bugged or updated version based off the serial number off the back of the cart.
okay.
I had some huge frustrations with that game because I was trying to do something you can't if you have the
Oh.
bug version. And down like 120 hours before I figured that out. But anyway,
Ooh.
in Back to Nature. Those three are my favorite Harvest Moon games.
Okay.
And yeah, I just, the farm life, and I guess like, the new one that came out. It's not Harvest Moon, but it's
Stardew Valley.
Stardew
I was
Valley.
gonna ask you about that at the end of
Yeah,
this. If you didn't bring it up, what your
I've
thoughts
played
are?
Stardew Valley a little bit, but it is missing a little bit of the charm.
Really? I mean,
Kind
I'm not going to
of.
get into a debate
Yeah.
with you here, but I've sunk at least 80 to 100 hours into Stardew Valley.
Yeah, I think I'm saying this through the lens of not having played it that often and like maybe less than 10 hours.
Mm.
But yeah, I do like that game too. So I'll put that on the list as well, but cuz it's the same vein. But yeah, so those games are really enjoyable, fairly stress and worry free. I
Yeah,
mean, you're the most stressed out you could be in Harvest Moon 1 is knowing that you have 2.5 years to do and accomplish what it is that you need to do or want to do.
that's true.
So maybe there's a stress aspect there, but like the game's not difficult, so that adds um element of like, just play the game, be chill, like it a lot, and yeah,
Yeah.
Harvest Moon.
No, that's a good pick. It's I'm with you. I definitely played it. I put a ton of hours into um Harvest Moon for the SNES
Yeah.
and a little bit of Back to Nature, but
Hmm.
I mean Stardew Valley a ton of time.
Yeah, and Stardew Valley is really like it's a love letter to the what Harvest Moon used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So your next game?
What did I write down? Oh yeah, Diablo 3.
Didn't you just say that one?
I did in the stressed out ones.
Oh,
I know, right?
okay.
Tricky.
You
I
are
kind of mentioned it in the stressed out section, but
right.
yeah, I honestly I can just like sit down and play um like the adventure mode.
Mm-hmm. See, this
Like
is what I was saying. I don't find it that
no
stressful.
no fear, no worries. Even the regular rifts
Right.
where you don't have that time limit like
Mm-hmm.
hanging over you,
Right.
just yeah, you're not concerned about dying. You do have the like nemesis thing. I don't
Right.
know if you've seen that pop up. Actually, no, you probably
No, I
wouldn't in the
haven't.
regular game.
We're just
So
playing the campaign on normal, so I haven't seen some of this
you
high-end stuff.
you have like
I mean, I'm barely getting socketed items. Like,
you have like a nemesis that will pop in
hmm
and
oh, I've seen that once. The one person's friend died, and then whatever killed him came in.
yeah,
Yeah, we saw that once. Yeah, we were in chapter near the end of chapter 1, actually.
it's a lot of fun and you get this like vibration on the controllers
Yeah.
and it's almost like a countdown. You
Hmm.
get like a couple weird vibrations and then this like portal pops open and the thing jumps out and
Right.
it depending on how many people it's killed it has them with it and yeah it's hard to take down but if you do it's definitely worthwhile it spits out a ton of great loot
Right.
but yeah like those are stressful but for the most part like just regular adventure mode you can
Hmm.
kind of shut off your brain whether it's a new character that you want to level up
Right.
or an old one that you're like an old like a older one you're trying to get to end game stuff or you're just kind of grinding for some specific crafting items. Yeah, you can just play that game for hours
Hmm.
without any kind of concern. It's like yeah. Yeah, I've played almost all the classes at least up to 30 or 40
Okay.
and I haven't found a single class where I'm like, oh, like I got to be right on top of this all the time. You can shut your brain off with pretty much all of them and just
Hmm.
like mindlessly play it and
Yeah.
still have fun.
I guess like as long as it's not a boss that might like two shot you or something like that, then you just have to press R1 and you're good.
Yeah,
So.
man, and it is a ton of fun, alone or with friends.
Hmm.
So
Cool. Cool.
next for you, JC.
My next game are fishing games.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like fishing, and I find fishing fairly stress free.
Yeah,
And the
I mean for you.
the 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 three games I can think of are Bassmasters Classics for the Genesis and the Super Nintendo. Either the Pro or non-Pro edition. They're just newer versions of the older one. And Sega Bass Fishing and Marina Bass Fishing for the Sega Dreamcast. Yeah, I know you're on a timer and stuff like that, and it's very arcadey, but I just find it really fun. Like it doesn't matter to me. It's just like, yeah, I got one, woohoo! Like it's just yeah, a fun game to just like sit there, play, and fill in a good like 10-20 minutes or something like that, and it's something I'll pop into my Dreamcast every now and then and play. The Sega Bass Fishing and the Marina version of them. There's a Sega Bass Fishing 2 as well. I don't own
Okay.
that one, but that game does exist. And there's a fishing controller with it, which kind of makes it really fun as well.
I
And
was gonna ask if you use the like peripheral for it.
I don't actually have it. It's on my list to get,
Ah,
but yeah, they're you don't see them in the wild that often. Or at least I haven't.
well, I'll keep an eye out now that I know you're looking.
Yeah, if you see a Sega brand one, then yes. If you see a non-Sega brand
And
one,
then
then no,
no.
which makes it a little bit more difficult.
Okay.
But yeah, yeah. So I like fishing games. I find them pretty fun and chill.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. You have one more?
I do have one more. Reigns.
Okay. And which game is this?
It's kind of a card game.
Mm-hmm.
I picked it up on Steam, honestly, because it was like $1.
Right.
That was the only reason I grabbed it. The art style looked kind of neat, and
Mm-hmm.
it said it was kind of simplistic. I'm
Yeah, I
like,
remember you sending me the link to this game, and it looked kind of interesting.
yeah, like I enjoy the art style. I mean, okay, so you have like four, I guess like systems
Mm-hmm.
or not systems. You have like four things you're concerned about. You've got your um the military,
Mm-hmm.
the church,
Yep.
the population,
Mm-hmm.
and your like money.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's basically just like a card flips. Like you have it, you're the king
Yeah.
or queen of like a medieval kingdom,
Yep.
and you have all these different advisors. A it like randomly sorts a stack of cards, and a new card will flip every round.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be related to one of the advisors. They might want like we need to send soldiers to the help the Eastern Kingdom fight off this.
Right.
And literally all you do is yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. You have two options. You move the card this way or you move the card that way.
Right.
And you can just like breeze through cards. It seems like it would be stressful because it's decision
It's yes or
making,
no choices.
but you're just kind of like, like you look at the top, you're like, okay, how negatively does this affect things?
Right.
Is this going to keep things kind of neutral? Then sure. Like you don't want any specific thing to get too much power. Like
Right.
if the church has too much power, they'll overthrow you. If the military has too much power, they'll overthrow you. If the
Mm-hmm.
people have too much power, out you go. If you have too much money, the people will still kick you out.
Right.
So you need to keep everything kind of balanced, but as stressful as that sounds like it might be,
Right.
it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's a yes or no. It's like a choose your own adventure.
Cool.
It keeps popping up new things, yes or no. And sometimes you die and it shows you like how long your reign was.
Right.
And then it's like, boop, all right, well,
Next kingdom.
King whatever the third, here you go.
Yeah.
And you just kind of like keep going.
Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty mindless. I know I tend if I'm playing a bunch of things on Steam
Mm-hmm.
or even if we're playing League some nights,
Right.
if I've had a real rough run,
Mm-hmm.
I'll just load that up and listen to some music and just flip cards for half an hour,
Right.
and just kind of unwind and
Mm-hmm.
have a little fun reading a weird adventure.
Right.
So, and I think you have one more for us, JC.
Yeah, I have one more. This one is Tetris Effect, PlayStation VR. You can play this game without VR. But just I specifically put in VR because it's really cool. It's just got a bunch of ambient like VR particle effects and stuff like that and backgrounds. And it's music based, as I explained in a previous episode.
Yeah.
And it's just very, very like chill. I get into the groove whenever I'm playing the game, and just like completing like as many Tetris as you can, slow it on time, get an Octris, and it's just like okay, like just going through a level or a series and yeah, I find the game very, very fun, and I don't find it particularly stressful.
It's
So
interesting because I feel like Tetris would be a stressful one for some people.
yeah, I think most people probably would. But like, I don't know, Puyo Puyo is more like it's definitely I would call that a stressful puzzle game where Tetris is not. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah, um, yes,
It's an interesting choice. No, I mean, I've been playing some Tetris 99, which I
mm-hmm.
know is not the same,
Yeah.
but
I probably
it's
would find that more stressful because there's more of like a challenge to the Tetris like um formula,
yeah.
whereas this one's like I explained in one of the like a previous episode where I mentioned Tetris Effect, and it's just like because of the music and the way that the game works and like you're creating music, you just kind of get into the groove, and because you do that like subconsciously, you just I think it makes you better at the game.
Okay.
If you get rhythm, if you don't, then this is probably not true at all.
It'd be
Um,
super stressful.
yeah, you probably just mute it. So, but yeah, Tetris Effect.
All
It's a
right.
really cool game. If you haven't played it and you have PSVR, I would say it's worth the money. Wait for till it's on sale. Get it for like 30 or $40. That's what I did, and yeah, it's a pretty good game, and its challenge isn't so up there that like I feel other versions of Tetris are a lot harder. Just very enjoyable.
All right.
Cool, cool. All right. So yeah, those are
Yeah, that
chill
kind
out
of.
games and stressful games.
I'm ready for bed now. I'm
Yeah.
nice and mellowed out, talking about all those nice and chill games.
Cool.
Let us know what you guys think. What stresses you out?
Yeah.
What things do you get all like out of control for? And then
Mhm.
what brings you down?
Yeah.
You know, what are your chill out games?
Yeah, or maybe you don't really find video games stressful or very relaxing at all. Who
That's
knows?
true. Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Let us know. We want to hear from you.
Mhm. So yeah, thanks for joining.
As always.
If you've made it this far, give it a like. That helps us out.
It does.
Subscribe if you want to see more content, and we'll see you next Monday.
Yeah, take care.